I would like to welcome everyone to our first Safee webinar in 2021. We're all delighted to have you here today with us. I see all the board members are here. We are glad to be spending these couple of hours with you. I want to introduce myself. My name is Coretta Mohale. I am a scientist by training. I moved into the engineering sector many years ago, I think around 20 years. I'm an entrepreneur running Vietacor Global, which is a project management company in sustainability sectors. I recently founded Green World Africa, which focuses on upskilling engineers for work readiness, training, mentoring graduate engineers in various sectors. I'm accompanied by my fellow amazing Safee board members. And I'm just gonna ask each one of them if you can enable your video as I call your name. I'm not quite sure if Lesego has joined us. Don't see her anywhere as yet. Oh, there we go. Hi, Lesego. All right, welcome. I just want to introduce Lesego. You can just wave as I call your name, who's qualified as a chemical engineer with a significant experience in project management sector, in the energy sector and in the water sector, currently working in public sector, but also has experience in private sector. I also want to introduce Faith Mukachwa, who's an energy expert. She's also an engineer by training with extensive experience in the energy sector, and she's also in the private sector. We're also joined by Lisa Reynolds, who has been with us through thick and thin. She's the CEO of Green Building Council and one of the speakers today. Did you wave, Lisa? Okay. We're also joined by Devaksha Maharaj, who's a registered professional engineer, an entrepreneur who's running her own energy services company. We're also grateful, yes, hi, Devaksha. We're also grateful to be joined by Tida, who's assisting us tirelessly with the coordination of activities from the South African Energy Efficiency Confederation. So I'm going to introduce, thank you ladies, I'm going to introduce Safee to everybody and just take you through and hand over to Faith, who's going to be our MC for the day. So I want to welcome everybody, all the ladies who have joined us here on the platform, and introduce you to Safee. Who is Safee? We call it Safee for short, but it stands for South African Females in Energy Efficiency, which is an interest group that is part of the South African Association of Energy Efficiency Confederation. We had our inaugural meeting in 2015, and our vision is largely to represent females that are playing influential roles in the energy management sector, right? And our main mission is to promote and expose more females in the energy management field and offer them coaching and mentoring, as well as to create a platform for females in energy management to support each other and exchange information, as well as to be a representative voice for women in the energy sector through advocacy and influence through the support of the South African Energy Efficiency Confederation. Our main purpose is primarily to support, as I did mention, women and celebrate the role of women in the energy efficiency, but in particular, energy management in general, right? To help develop and empower them, to assist in career development activities of existing professionals, enable young women who are aspiring to participate in the industry, to find mentors who will enable them and support their development. We also facilitate a networking platform for women as well, made up of quite a number of highly experienced individuals in the energy efficiency space, renewable energy, green economy professionals, who are all working to improve energy management and reduce energy wastage just in general. What are the milestones that we have experienced throughout the years since our inception? We've had quite a number of mentorship breakfasts. We had our inaugural breakfast a few years ago at the University of Johannesburg, and it was attended by quite a number of students, engineering students, I think just under 100, and a few mentors as well. So we've also had a series of student mentorship breakfasts in nominated universities across the country. And these breakfasts were actually networking opportunities for students to interact with professional women in the sector as well. We've also had roadshows where we held several roadshows throughout the years where we got the opportunity to interact with various stakeholders. And we give thanks to the likes of UN National Cleaner Production Center, who supported us on our nationwide roadshow throughout the country. As I mentioned, in KZN, in the Eastern Cape, in Port Elizabeth, in Cape Town. So we give thanks to them. What is the membership? Who is the membership open to for Safee? It is a membership that's open to professional women, female students, organizations, academic institutions, and government departments. And one of the benefits, I have alluded to some of the benefits already, but mainly it's capacity building opportunities, mentorship and coaching, affiliation to the Southern African Energy Efficiency Confederation, networking opportunities, access to the resources that we have, the newsletters, updates on policy development, new developments in the energy management sector, and access to seasoned professionals in the energy management sector as well. So that is Safee in a nutshell. And we are here today because we felt that there's pertinent issues that needs to be addressed that women in the energy sector are faced with. Especially now, given the challenges that we faced with, we've had, unprecedented shock to our careers through the COVID-19 pandemic. Our livelihoods, our financial well-being has experienced a shock that we've never experienced before. So the topic of today is, how do we overcome the obstacles beyond COVID-19 pandemic? And we have a very well-selected lineup of speakers this morning who will give us their nuggets of wisdom on how to overcome these challenges. And I want to say that this is the right moment for me then to hand over to my most beautiful, amazing colleague, Faith Mkachwa, who will be facilitating the discussions today. Over to you, Faith.
Thank you so much, Coretta, and good morning, everyone. Just to confirm if you can hear me. Can somebody just confirm if you can hear me? Coretta, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a noisy place because we had power fail in my entire area, so I had to quickly come to a compromise. So I'm not at home, and my apologies if the sound dips every now and then. But thank you so much. I think that all of the craziness of power failure has, this moment makes up for it, because I'm super excited. As Safee, we've been looking forward to this moment for a while. And most people always say, but why do women have the need or see the need to get together and complain and mourn and talk about what they experience? And my answer is simple, because we are the ones who've experienced this, and we're the best people to share our experiences, to speak about our experiences. Nobody else can quite articulate what we've experienced. But over the years, like Coretta said, we've had a lot of sessions where we've spoken to other women, where we've spoken to students who are at varsity, and we spoke to women who are not even in the energy space, but that would like to have a career in energy. And what comes through very strongly is that they are looking forward to this. They want to know how to, they want to know our experiences. They want to hear our stories. They want to be inspired by our stories. They want to see if they can learn from it. And that's precisely the reason for today's session, because just as we thought we were dealing with inequality, with the lack of women representation in the energy space or in energy management, COVID happens. It's like a spanner in the works. We've all experienced it. We can't even make it an excuse, but it does make things a little bit harder for women. If you're already having a hard time in your career, specifically in energy, COVID doesn't really make it easy, and we all have a story to share. But despite everything, we are determined, we are inspired to still move forward. And the three speakers today, we've handpicked them because of exactly that. They are inspirational in every way. They've had successful careers, they're forging ahead. And more than anything, they're more determined than ever to make sure that they make it in this tough world. Some of them are in corporate, some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are in government. But what's common about these three women is that they're all in the energy space. And cutthroat as it might be, tough as it might be, they've had successful careers. And we just thought, let's, in sort of complaining about COVID, instead of, telling you the obvious, instead of, sharing in the challenges, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're going to share the challenges, then we've got to share the solutions. We've got to be part of the solution, and we've got to share the inspirations as well, and make sure that as women, not only do we uplift each other and make sure that we move forward, but also we make sure that we are there as support structures for each one. There's a lot of other people who put us down, and we found this to be a perfect platform to make sure that we keep going beyond COVID, beyond 2021, beyond the damage that COVID has wreaked. And I know that each one of you has, in one way or the other, experienced the devastation that is COVID-19 and the impact that it had in your family and your circle of friends. So this was just something that we wanted to make sure that we inspire you. We share in our stories, and it's as real as they come. I mean, if you look at each and every one of the ladies that are going to speak, or each and everyone who's here, you have a unique story to tell, but it's only when you share it that somebody else will actually identify with the story and be able to say, if she can go through it and make it, I can do the same. So yeah, I would like to welcome once again all of you. I hope you are ready for this, and I hope you enjoy yourself. I was asked to make sure that you also observe COVID protocols. So if you're in a public place like me, or you are sharing your office or computer space or working space, please make sure that you observe all those COVID protocols and stay safe wherever you are. We would want to see you in future, hopefully in person soon. So please do stay safe. Without wasting too much time, I want to introduce next a remarkable woman and a phenomenal woman. She's got a very long CV, and the one thing about a woman who's got a long CV is because they've been through so much and they've done so much, and to kind of put it in paper it's really trying to squeeze their achievement and their accomplishment. So the nice thing about this lady is that she gives government, I would say, a good name. She's in a space where we're all asking, how do we get there? What are the policies that support women in energy? What is the available tools that can support women in there? So I just want to do a quick introduction of Dr. Annalyn Chetty. She is a remarkable woman, and if you want a bit more detail on her CV, it's part of the invite, and it's on the website. But I want to also give her a chance to also introduce herself briefly, because I realize that I'm not going to do her justice. She's so accomplished, and I hope that today will be a start of a relationship with Safee, and hopefully some networking opportunities for some young lady out there. So without wasting too much time, I will hand over to Dr. Annalyn Chetty.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you. I was told somebody's gonna be presenting your slides. Is it you, Tida?
That's
I'll head over to you and I'm gonna switch my camera off.
Hi, Annelien, you're still on mute.
good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So good morning to all of you, our esteemed speakers and fellow and our guests and stakeholders that are participating on this platform this morning. As the program director indicated, my name is Dr. Annelien Chetty, and I address you as the South African lead on this important partnership project between UNIDO and UN Women, which was held in 4 countries, namely Senegal, Peru, Cambodia, and South Africa. I'm also the chairperson of the National Steering Committee that was established to steer this project. If you could put up my presentation, Theodore. Thank you. It's not on, Theodore. I can just see a full.
Actually, I can see it on my side.
Oh, you can see it. Okay.
I saw it.
We can see it. We can see it.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So I'm just going to put my camera off. I think that interferes with my ability to see the slide. So I just want to say this is the disclaimer. This is not the reflection of the opinion of UNIDO, UN Women, DTIC, purely my own. And it was not meant to be disrespectful to men. But if you have an important job to do, you call a woman to do so. And I think as women, we've risen above every adversity, we've risen above every circumstance, and we've proven to the world that we do not want to be equal to men, but we are capable of handling a hell of a lot more. Next slide.
Thank you so much. That's better.
That being said, I just want to go into the purpose of the study. There's a lot of background noise. If everybody could mute. Thank you. That being said, the study was meant to assess the extent to which current policies in South Africa embraces the concept of gender mainstreaming and to determine the extent to which it is aligned. Given the climate crisis and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warning that countries had in 2018, 12 years to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees compared to the pre-industrial era. The transition to a green economy is a matter of urgency, and steps are needed to fast-track both. Policy making and implementation, the move to a green economy has been hailed as an opportunity to correct existing structural problems that have led to the exclusion of women, amongst others, in the economy. Rather, the study builds a case for why there should be a shift to a green economy and requires a gender-just approach to address structural failures that are part of the present economy. Next slide. It's very important to detail, sorry, you can go into the next slide. In terms of where this whole study fits in, it's linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular, it's Goal 17, it's Goal 13, Goal 9, Goal 11, and Goal 5, which speaks about gender equality. Next slide. Okay, so this particular study was a diagnostics assessment and policy analysis undertaken for enabling evidence-based policy making that was conducted in 4 countries, Peru, Senegal, South Africa, and Cambodia. Research activities in each of these countries were conducted between January and March 2020. A comparative analysis of the results across the 4 countries have demonstrated that while South Africa has a long way to go in making significant roads into the economic empowerment of women, we were still certainly ahead of the other 4 countries assessed. The 2 main SDG goals that were subscribed to was SDG 9, 5 and 9, countries are initiating a significant push to improve leadership and participation of women as entrepreneurs and industry professionals, and advance gender equality as well as green industrialization in line with the SDG goals. The most critical needs and gaps identified are to improve leadership and participation of women as entrepreneurs or industry professionals through strengthened integration of gender and green industry policies identified. Next slide. These detailed the outcomes of the study. Outcome 1 was that countries were enabled to formulate or reformulate existing gender-responsive green industrial policies and adopt them. Outcome 2 was individual and institutional capacities for policy formulation and implementation are strengthened on both the national and global level. And outcome 3 was knowledge-based on gender and gender industrial policies is improved and outreach actions are initiated. Next slide. In terms of the green economy, it's very important that we understand that the actual green economy is a human-centered approach. It's one that results in improved human well-being and social equity, while significantly reducing environmental risks and ecological scarcities. The green economy is a transformation of economies, enterprises, workplaces, and labor markets into a sustainable low-carbon economy, providing decent work. Decent work being productive work for women and men in conditions of freedom, equity, security, and human dignity. In essence, the green economy is a human-centered approach and focuses on the holistic well-being of both people and the environment. Next slide. Question then is, what is the definition of empowerment? It's made up of 2 parts, which is the process which leads a woman to have the ability to succeed and advance economically. And secondly, the power to act on economic decisions. This is in direct relation to a woman's access to skills, resources, ability to make economic decisions and act on it, and the ability to control resources and profits. If you think and you do gender assessments in many other African countries, you'll find that is not the case. The woman cannot even take out a loan without having a man with her to be able to support that application. Next slide. In order to conduct research, the methodology for research in these 4 countries, in South Africa in particular, the researchers used a mixed methodology such as desktop review and initial policy review, 30 qualitative key informant interviews, and 2 focus groups with industry professionals, feminist critical policy analysis of 10 policy documents, and a quantitative online survey. Next slide. In terms of the sectors that we focused on in the study, we looked at transport, road, and specifically the electrical vehicle. You do know that government has recently released a white paper, a green paper on electrical vehicles, and we're pushing quite hard for that to take off. Then there's waste, looking at plastic and waste management, and looking at renewable energy, focusing on wind and solar. In addition, we're also looking at the circular economy. Next slide. In terms of the findings of the assessments, a number of the policies revealed that we do not include adequate and concrete measures to address gender equality and women empowerment. There's limited or no disaggregated data and evidence of economic empowerment of women in the green industry. There's inadequate understanding of green industry, economy, and gender mainstreaming and the integration of the 2. Lack of an awareness of opportunities for gender mainstreaming in the green industry, and women are subject to various forms of discrimination, direct, indirect, institutionalized, and structural. Next slide. Some of the barriers you can see from this cartoon, the unequal picture that we as women are faced with. Whilst men just have a straight road ahead of them, women have quite an obstacle in terms of the unpaid work that we're responsible for, that sometimes creates a barrier for us to achieve in terms of business and in terms of making significant strides in the economy. In terms of barriers to advancement, there's a lack of knowledge about policies and programs, lack of access to technology, market capital, guarantees and credit resources, networks, mentoring, lack of necessary skills, harmful social norms, restricted mobility, unpaid care work, intersectional inequalities, discriminatory hiring practices, lack of self-confidence, and lack of access to information. If you think about how a man conducts business and how a woman conducts business, it's two very different pictures. A woman would very rarely go onto a golf course, which is a recreational activity to facilitate business transactions. It's very rare that you do that. You'd find other ways to do it. But men would, whilst playing golf is a recreational activity, that's where they conduct most of their business. So whilst we have a little bit of a struggle in trying to embrace those approaches, men find it very easy to do that. Next slide. Okay, so the perceived opportunities in green industry compared with conventional industry, more companies are implementing quotas and seeking to hire a gender-balanced workforce. Newer jobs in green industry are less affected by traditional gender stereotypes. There's a high potential for social transformation. Example, more equal pay, greater support from families, less need to consult a man. Women may find opportunities in sectors in which they have already participated informally. Example, agriculture, waste management sectors. Innovation driven by a more conscientious consumer, which is often women, offers more opportunities for women. Women's interpersonal skills, communication, teamwork, and creative thinking are well suited to new opportunities. Next slide. In terms of the policy recommendations, some of the recommendations included reviewing policies to include language and plans that address the key factors underpinning the economic empowerment of women in green industry. Conduct gender analysis to ensure that the differential needs of women are meaningfully included in policies and programs. Review and develop specific M&E frameworks that collect baseline disaggregated data with indicators for gender equality, specifically in green industry. Conduct midterm evaluations that will help contextualize the progress of the policy and use intersectional gender data to understand the multidimensional and unique social positions women occupy and identify equitable opportunities for diverse groups to succeed in the green industry. Next slide. In order for us to be able to integrate gender equality in the green industry, a transformation and systems approach is used to integrate people with various elements of leadership, climate change, technology, resources, industry and trade, collaboration, and education. Next slide. Okay, there's a unique set of skills that women bring to the sector. The way that women view the world is very different. There's value in women working in the sector. We will just need to create opportunities. This was a principal scientist from Waste Management and Innovation, South Africa. Women's abilities to multitask, handle several responsibilities at once, such as the family, the home, the business, corporate environment, and politics, certainly augurs well for them to be successful in any initiative they undertake. Next slide. Okay, so this was the work plan. It's deliberate that you can't see the content because we didn't want to go into too much detail. The plan was developed on the basis of the recommendations of the study. We're pleased to advise that the work plan was a culmination of work that was driven by all departments in government and formed part of the National Steering Committee, made up of UNIDO, UN Women, DTIC, Department of Women with Youth and People with Disabilities, Department of Science and Innovation, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Department of Small Business Development, Department of Transport, and a few other external organizations. The work plan is considered to be a constant work in progress as we build on initiatives together and improve the level of coordination amongst all departments to promote the multifaceted agenda of gender mainstreaming and transformation in the green economy. Next slide. Okay, so this goes into a bit of detail of the actual implementation of the plan, which I'm not going to go into. But what I do want to say is the important thing that I've been seeing recently, and I know there's another Women in Energy seminar that's happening as we speak. There's this webinar, and there's a whole lot of different organizations pushing the agenda of women in the green economy. And I find that approach, it becomes very diluted. The impact is minimal. And if we can all pull together and combine our resources and work together, we will not be duplicating efforts, and we'll be able to achieve a lot more if we actually do work together and find opportunities that we can build on initiatives together. And so I encourage Safee to approach us and join us in whatever projects we're doing, and we're quite happy to support you as well. Next slide. Okay, so South Africa has reached a new level of crisis. Apart from the COVID pandemic, no matter what may be happening around us, there's an old saying which goes, it takes a village to raise a child. And with the green economy being a little baby at the stage, because we're still all trying to understand it, we're still all trying to raise it and work together. So we want to make sure that we all become part of this global village to start to increase the whole aspect of this child of gender mainstreaming and the economic empowerment of women, not just in the green economy, but across all sectors. The spirit of Ubuntu is needed now more than ever for us to rebuild our economy like never before and make sure that nobody gets left behind. Ladies and gentlemen, we've just passed the Women's Month. We're going to be going into the 16 days of activism during November and December. And whilst I applaud and recognize all of these initiatives, I strongly believe that we cannot have pockets of activism, or we cannot have pockets of encouraging women to take on opportunities. Women empowerment should be projected 365 days a year. And I think initiatives like yourself, Safee, and whatever else other government departments are doing and other organizations are doing are helping to create sustainable efforts so that we can continue to empower women 365 days a year. Whilst our country had been plunged in darkness with GBV, the unrest, we can all look for the positive glimmers and rays of hope to rebuild. And I strongly believe that together we can rebuild. Next slide. So I think you all are familiar with this slogan, Wachincha Bafazi, Wachincha Mokodo. And I think as women, we know that you strike a woman, you strike a rock, and you give a woman anything, she'll be able to make it a lot bigger than what you gave to her as. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Annelien. I think I want to give people a chance to ask questions. I've been monitoring the chat box. So far, no questions. Please think of some questions to ask her because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. But just judging by her experience and qualifications and the amount of work she's done, she's got her hands in every pie. But what's interesting for me is that she's written and assisted in writing some of the most innovative policies. And in South Africa, we always say we've got the nicest the greatest policies that are well written. And I'm sure, without doubt, she's a great part of why we have those policies. So if you have any question for her, please post it or just unmute yourself so that you can ask a question, or raise your hand and we'll be able to ask a direct question. Or while you think about the questions, Tina, can you please load a poll? We've got a poll because we are planning, this is not going to be the last event. We're planning some events, but we'd like to hear from you the kind of event you would like to participate in. So we've got a poll on the screen. Just choose a topic that you would like us to tackle in the next event or next networking session. And we'll try and make sure that we meet your expectations. I mean, that's what we're here for. As soon as you're done with your poll, you still have an opportunity to ask Dr. Annelien a question and see if she can answer us. I mean, this is your one moment, for her to indulge you. So I hope you have some questions, and I know she's got answers for it. So if you're like me, confused, and you don't know because you think every topic is relevant and you'd love for it to be the next one that we tackle, unfortunately, you're gonna have to choose one because it's a one choice opportunity. But at some point, we will eventually get to all the other topics. It's just a matter of priority because we can't do it all. Thank you for that. Okay, so while we still give other people a chance to cast their votes or to take a poll, I'm hoping you type in some questions. Nothing.
Faith, I think my presentation was clear. They don't have questions. Don't force it.
Somebody wants to know if they can get a presentation, if that's okay with you. Can we share it with them?
No problem, I can share it.
Okay,
That'll be fine.
Thank you so much. Yolisa has a question for you as well. She says, how can one get involved with the initiatives? Thanks for that question,
Yolisa, I will put my email address on the chat and you can contact me directly.
Please, I think everybody else who probably was looking for your contact details can go ahead and use that as well. So that would be fantastic. Thank you so much. Just from a general perspective for me, because you've done so much, you've written a book, you know what you talk about, you back it up with experience, and you've got your qualifications as well. So you are exemplary in that, in going after one's dreams. But just two things for me. If anything, what kind of impact would you still bring you greater satisfaction in your work?
Okay, so one of the things I've started that was not related to my work at all, but simply because I saw a need, was a program that I called Turning Point. And it was more an economic empowerment program for women who had experienced trauma. And it was at the height of South Africa's history when the student from UCT was killed, you know, the one that went to the post office. I can't really pronounce her name very well, so I'm not going to take a chance, but it was at the beginning of spring. And, you know, whilst we celebrate new life and new birth at that time, this poor girl who had a whole life ahead of her, the whole world was an oyster, her life was shortened. And I realized how important it is for us to support and protect our girls and protect our women. And more importantly, you know, just not focusing on women, but also to help men to understand. It's one thing to empower women. If you don't prepare a man for an empowered woman, you're going to have problems. We started, apart from the turning point for women, we started a turning point for men, because people very largely ignore issues that men go through. A number of men go through mental illness. It translates into abuse. It translates into physical abuse of women. And just because they've never dealt with their mental issues, and if you create a platform for them to be able to deal with their mental issues, because there's no difference between men and women, except that we're able to express ourselves more. We've given those platforms, we're allowed to cry, and with them, they're not. You know, so it's about understanding where they come from and also empowering them to be able to receive an empowered woman. So for me, that was quite a rewarding project that I undertook.
Wow, it does sound like a rewarding project indeed. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for taking the time. And I wish you the best of luck, and I really hope you continue with your endeavors. You're already well on your way there. You don't need much luck, but please continue representing women. And I hope each one of your goals will come to pass.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So we've got some results, and by I think a huge margin, most women, majority of women in this platform would like to see boosting women's participation in the renewable energy sector. It is a topical issue, so it's not surprising that most women would like to understand this a bit more, but also a greater participation of women is still an issue in the specific sector. So yes, we'd love to tackle it. We'll let you know, we'll keep you posted through Tida and the rest of the team. There's so many amazing people that are assisting us. So we'll keep you posted with regards to the next topic. Hopefully we'll be tackling the inclusion of women in the renewable energy space. So without wasting too much of your time, I would like to introduce the next speaker. Sorry about that. I would like to introduce you the next speaker, and it's somebody that I know. I've worked with. In fact, she used to be one of the original Safee board members. And I think I always remember the first question that she asked me. I think the first few times that we met, I think we had met a few times. And one day she said, well, my name is Santa, and this is my claim to fame. And she explained her story. And I thought, wow. And she was greeting me and she said, what is your claim to fame? And I kind of went, but I think it's important to know what your claim to fame is, because it's simply what you wake up looking forward to achieving, what gets your heart going, what do you look forward to. So I like how she summed it up in your claim to fame, and I'm hoping that I'm going to leave you with your question, and at the end of the session, number one, you will know what Santa's claim to fame is, but I also hope you'll be able to answer what your own claim to fame is, because we each one have something unique that makes people go, when they think renewable, they think faith. When they think green space, they think faith. So I hope you are very clear on that, because once you're clear on that, it will be easy to navigate those tough terrains at times, because it's not always easy. But once you know what you're standing up for, once you know what you dream to achieve, and once you know what you really want to get out of each and every struggle in the space, then I think you are on your way there. And clarity is everything, ladies. So without wasting too much time, I want to give opportunity to Santa, and Santa is going to tell us her story, because she has a unique experience and a unique voice in that she's been an entrepreneur. And I can imagine, if you are in industry, if you're in corporate, if you're in government, it's not easy in the space. So how much more can it be difficult for entrepreneurs? I mean, some people say, to succeed in entrepreneurship, you need extra grace. You need an extra dose of grace on a daily basis, know-how. So Santa will be able to sum that up, tell us a story, inspire us, and hopefully some of you who are here will be able to pick up on your dreams, be able to move forward, but also be inspired to say, you know what, if she could do it, so can I. So Santa, please do a quick introduction of yourself and then take us through your journey.
Okay, thank you. If you don't mind, I'm not going to switch the video on. I'm in my car. The surroundings is not perfect.
So on the skipper, you are already on video.
I am on video?
Yes, we can see.
How can you see me? I can't see myself, so I have no idea what you guys are seeing.
We're seeing you in your car.
Yes.
You're gone now.
Okay, so you had a flash there. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I think I really enjoyed the talk just now, and that's definitely very encouraging for the way forward, to see who's who's driving the industry and helping us to really find a foothold. So I'm talking about the green transport journey, and I did prepare a few slides, but I don't even think it's important to show them. I'm just going to talk you through the process. So when I quit my corporate job in 2015, I had a dream that I was going to do something of significance towards solving climate change. And that was really my driving sort of inspiration. It was telecom. I was part of the Green Initiative Forum, and at the time was the green economy strategy was the talk of the day, and I actually made a submission towards projects that might be, there was an expression of interest for projects. And it was only right at the end when they were starting to ask about credentials that I realized that I was actually proposing to do the project. And that was actually about rooftop solar, and really doing industrial scale rooftop solar to feed into the grid. Now, right at that time, there was actually a lot of limitations on that. And for instance, the IPP process that was just busy launching explicitly excluded rooftop solar as an option. And so whilst I was still actually working, I started getting involved in really trying to promote that and putting removing some of the obstacles towards rooftop solar. I went and made presentations to NERSA and ended up speaking at quite a few industry events. So I was sort of Miss Rooftop Solar at the time. And eventually I participated in the small projects IPP, submitted a stage 1 bid, which I don't know how on earth that was put together, because I pretty much did it single-handedly. And it got selected as a stage 1 selected bidder. And from there, I thought, okay, now is a good time to quit my job and start pursuing this full time. So I managed to raise a grant from the Energy Environment Partnership. It's an international organization, and having the security of that, I went into business. The unfortunate thing is Eskom priced the connection so high that in the end my project, I had to conclude my project was not feasible. So the grant was for a feasibility study, and we never did submit a stage 2 bid. But by that time I was an entrepreneur, and I wanted to drive an electric vehicle because I wanted to walk the talk. So I went to look for options and realized that what's available in the market is beyond most people. And that's how I got involved in conversion as an alternative. So I was looking at converting old VW Beetles and to make it into an electric vehicle. And there's a little video still on YouTube. I watched it this morning and I was considering sharing that. Yeah, I just was not sure if we could easily run a video on this format. But yeah, we basically took old VW Beetles, converted them, made them electric. A Beetle is the easiest thing in the world to convert, but I truly thought that this could be a business. I entered it into the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program, and actually got selected onto the program and did a 1-year incubation with them, which was extremely useful to make the switch from being a corporate employee to being an entrepreneur. And UNIDO is one of the organizations that, well, it was the organization that funded the GSIP program, and TIA, the Technology Innovation Program agency, was hosting it. One thing led to another. I started getting involved with the Eco Mobility Festival, which also happened during that time. And there was great excitement in Sandton and how everybody was going to be going electric, and Sandton was going to be a hub for eco-mobility going forward. The festival was great fun, but I have to say, out of the 35 odd companies that initially signed up to be part, maybe about 12 or so actually participated. And I think a lot of the framework, legal framework, and especially the ability to register these eco-mobility vehicles on the road was quite lacking. And yeah, many of those ideas pretty much went nowhere. One thing that did come out of that is I had a roaring time renting electric bikes in Alexandra, because some of the people that was assigned to us by the city to assist during the festival, I just continued on and employed them. So for about 6 months we did that, but ran into the registration issue because I could not find a way to actually insure these vehicles. And, you know, there was a huge risk if there was a serious accident. You know, then people don't say, oh, you know, you're not really making money, you're doing this to employ people. No. You're a businesswoman, you must be rich, we're going to sue you, you know, if anything happens. So that's a risk I eventually decided to stop taking. Another sort of result of having been part of the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program was I decided to enter the Little Beetle into the Sasol Solar Challenge, and was able to raise a bit of funding to make that possible through TIA as well as UNIDO. And you know, one of my fondest memories is me and the team actually at the waterfront in Cape Town, having completed the solar challenge. So if you ask what's my claim to fame, I think that's the one that that I'll pick. After that, there was a lot of hard grind to try and get the business side of it working. There was a lot of excitement. A lot of people thought it's a good idea. But there was also people saying, you'll never get this thing homologated. That's the process to register vehicles for use on the road. And unfortunately, that message was whispered in the circles of people that I was trying to raise funding from to actually do that process. So that never actually got funded. And I think at some point I decided that I would rather switch than make a pivot to do bike manufacturing. We then had quite a long run around trying to set up a bike manufacturing plant. However, the funding for that, you know, we were this close to getting it raised. I actually had an off-taker, but when I asked him to actually sign on the dotted line that he will take this many bikes per year, which he sells, and to this day he sells that many bikes per year, but he just wouldn't sign the off-take agreement and make the commitment, and that basically, yeah, that didn't happen. In reality, there were probably about, I did a summary for somebody the other day. There were 43 funding applications made over the years. Now, remember, there were some successes because I got the grant for the solar farm. I got the grant for participating in the solar challenge. You know, I was accepted in incubation programs. But what I find interesting is that all these incubation programs last mostly 1 year. And, even if you are pretty much full-time dedicated, it works through your business plans and investor readiness and all that kind of thing. But I've heard somewhere that it takes 7 years for a business to establish itself properly. And I've also heard that it takes 4 to 5 failed ventures before most businesses eventually make it big. And it's interesting that in this entire program and system of incubation, I'm not sure if those things are necessarily taken into account, because most expect you to do something significant within 1 year. So that I'll say nothing more about, just to say that it's been a few years, and the big break in the funding of the major activities that I was planning did not really materialize. So what I did in 2019 was to actually join a company that imports electric vehicles. It's called Alexa. It's the biggest seller of electric vehicles actually in the country today, if you go by number. To date, they didn't have cars, although they've just recently launched. Well, it's not launched yet. They're busy with the homologation process. But they have brought an electric vehicle, a small car. It doesn't go very fast, like 60, 70 kilometers an hour. It's really meant for city purposes, but it's going to be in the 200,000 or less range. And so, I believe there'll be a market for that. The other thing that through them I was able to get access to was a 3-wheeler that has humongous potential as a solution for small businesses in townships. There's a lady in Limpopo that is using 3 of our vehicles that we've closed up as a van to and is running fully off solar to deliver her bread, and she's an extremely happy customer. So there is some nuggets of progress and a lot of things, a lot of opportunity in this electric vehicle space outside of the big OEMs. Problem perhaps that the market is slow in the uptake. Nobody really wants to do business with the smaller companies when it comes to their vehicle fleets. Nobody wants to buy different types of vehicles to what we were used to in the past. If the country really wants to go to an electric vehicle strategy, the first thing we should do is move away from big sedans and start thinking of different vehicle types, because there are excellent little vehicles that are much more suitable to be powered by renewable energy and solar in particular. There we are. That lady in Limpopo is running fully off solar, and it's solar installed on her car. So I think we should ask her to enter the next solar challenge. So yes, from my side, I'm not going to ramble on too much longer. I think what I've just explained is pretty much my message to the market is, the time is right, the vehicles are there, the products are available to really switch to electric, but don't do a 1-for-1 swap. Let's really investigate different vehicle types. Alexa has proven to me that homologation is not an issue. There is a number of vehicles that they've successfully been able to register. But the moment you make them locally, that's a huge problem. The registration of locally made vehicles is still an issue. I know quite a few people who actually are making them that are struggling. But from a perspective of after COVID, one of the things that happened to me is, the big break hasn't yet come, and I've had to make the decision to just get funding from a different source. So right now I'm working a job again after 5-6 years on my own, as a temporary measure, because you got to do what you got to do to keep the pot boiling until the right deal and the right opportunity comes. And if that's going to take 7 years, well, nobody can just fund their own business for 7 years and and make it out of their lives. So that's where I'm at right now. But it's in no way an admission of defeat. It's a matter of do what needs to be done. I still believe there's a massive rollout coming, especially with some of our small electric vehicles that can help people. If somebody came up with a program where we actually roll out a business tool to small businesses, namely a vehicle that you can drive that can enhance your reach, that can increase your ability to handle volume, that can enable you to go pick up your stock directly from your supplier and go to where you want to have your place of sale and do it. There's so much that a business can do when it has a vehicle, but a bakkie costs too much. Whereas if you can do the same job with a smaller vehicle, there's a huge opportunity. And my hope is that we'll really see green transport as part of the energy efficiency. A little vehicle like that compared with what a gas guzzling big bakkie consumes, there's just absolutely no comparison. And the fact that vehicles like that can actually run off solar, kind of brings together all the initial dreams that I had to really make a difference. And I think we're still gonna achieve that. Thanks. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Santa. I don't see any questions in the chat box, but please feel free to direct any questions to Santa. And if you still have a question for Andeline, you can still post it or raise your hand so that we can give you an opportunity to ask the question. While you still think of some of the questions, we have another poll for you, and then we'll take more questions. Tida? I hope everybody can see the poll on their screen, and please choose an option. Once again, it's a single choice, no matter how many of these options you may like. So you can only choose one, unfortunately.
Hi, Faith.
Hi, is it visible?
It's Devaksha. I actually hi. Actually have a question for Santa. Can't see. Santa, are you here?
Yes, she's still here.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, no problem. Thanks. That was quite an interesting discussion on your end. And I think it's quite rare to find a female to be involved in the electric vehicle sector. I was recently on a platform where there was a young lady from the government side that was discussing that, and she said that she sits in a room of male counterparts, and that's not a bad thing, but I think we need more females engaged in the sector. And if you look at where electric vehicle, the market is now, it is where solar was 5 to 10 years ago. And I think if anything is we're looking at going forward, we should definitely get involved now as females in the sector. And in speaking to that, I just wanted to check on you. Are you involved in any working groups that's working directly with what government wants going forward for the sector or mandated? Dr. Annalene Chetty mentioned that there's been a report that has been put out from government side. Are you involved in any of those working groups where we can contact you to get more information in terms of where the sector is going and then disseminate that amongst our members?
Santa? I see I see two centers. So I'm assuming she's still here, unless if she's just not realizing that she's muted.
She's on mute.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm unmuted. I'm sorry. Yes, so I'm not currently involved in any of those things. Previously, I was quite involved with the Electric Vehicle Industry Association, but for the last, say, year, 18 months, nobody's approached me on any of those things. So I'm in the groups.
Okay, it's fine, Faith. She probably can just chat to us or we can connect with her. Basically, I was just looking for some sort of avenue where we can get our members involved in terms of working via Santa, not directly on the working group, so that we can get direct information and proper information in terms of where electric vehicles is going forward, and how we can then start creating business opportunities for our members in terms of what government may mandate. So she can comment in the chat box, or she can respond a while later, or we can even get her details and we can contact her directly.
Absolutely. I think, Santa, if you can hear Devaksha, I will please just respond through the chat box or leave your details for other people to ask direct questions as well. Otherwise, sure. I don't see, there she's back. Go ahead, please.
Yes, no, sure, thanks. I did hear what she was asking, and I'm happy to leave my details. I would be delighted to be involved in these matters.
Absolutely, thank you so much. I don't see any other questions, so I will ask more of a general question. In your statement, you say the dream, the struggle, the prize, it always starts with a dream. And a lot of us, dreaming is not a problem. We can dream. It's sustaining it as an entrepreneur that becomes a problem. How do you ensure that your business supports your dream?
That's an interesting question, because the distance between the dream and the prize is usually much longer than we anticipate, and the sort of side roads that we travel. So I think what has always been important to me is to retain the perspective that, this is a straight road, this is a side road, this is a stepping stone. Everything that happens along the way are not wasteful. They are part of the experience. And that ultimately, even if it's going to take 7 years instead of the 1 or 2 that one thought in the beginning, the dream will still be realized, and there is a role for us to play in making a difference.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Just one more. Some people say no risk, no story, and you certainly have a story to tell. I mean, you said 2015. It doesn't seem like that much of a long time, but already your life is packed with story after story, and it's very colorful. And that speaks of some of the risks that you've had to absorb, you've had to mitigate along the way, and there certainly will be more risks to come. How do you continuously mitigate, go around this risk, and what keeps you motivated to still make sure that you remain an entrepreneur, because that is your determination?
Well, somebody once said that it takes a genius to live on a small income. Any fool can live on a big one. I had to develop some genius in that regard after giving up the nice full-time corporate income. But yeah, I think it's a matter of replanning your life, simplifying your life, and having a partner that is in support. I think in my case was absolutely essential. Because you don't make the contribution that you ought to be making. So that's I think a pretty important factor. And yeah, just not to lose hope, and not to see the obstacles as being the end of the road.
Okay, Thank you. And we've got some result polls. Thank you so much, Santa. I know our next speaker would love to speak based on those results as well. So I think we still have some time, but I don't want to waste it. So if there are any other questions, Yolisa has a question as well. She says, hi, Santa, knowing what you know, what would you do differently?
To be honest, what I would do differently is I would not employ people and move ahead when you, because I built several beetles and employed people for 2 years that I funded from my own sources. And that's something I wouldn't do differently next time, because one should more continue to try and raise the funding so that you do not tap into sources that ought not be used for employment of other people.
Thank you so much for that. I hope that answers your question, Yolisa. So I think now we're going to move to our...
Sorry. Wait,
yes?
sorry to interrupt.
My hand raised.
Yes, Coretta has got a question.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Coretta.
Yeah, I've had my hand raised for a while. Thank
Sorry,
you very
I
much.
didn't see you.
No, it's fine. I wanted to say that, you know what Santa has presented is actually what a lot of entrepreneurs are faced with. You know, there's quite a lot of challenges that are out there. When you have a dream and you want to develop like innovative solutions, etc., you know, you encounter much more challenges, and it becomes very difficult as a young entrepreneur, as well as, you know, with all the challenges that we are faced with as women, you know, which makes it much more difficult. You know, I would like to understand, it takes a lot of resilience, obviously, but I'd like to understand, maybe if Dr. Annelien Chati can also just highlight if there's any way that, you know, government does assist, or any programs that entrepreneurs that are on the platform and some of our members could engage with government on some of the opportunities that are available, and what's the best way of really trying to get that kind of assistance from government. Because, I mean, talking as an entrepreneur from myself, when you approach government, the main response that you will get is that we will not come and support an idea, so to say. You know, we will not just come and support an idea as it is. We work through tenders, we work through requests for proposals, and all of that. You know, that actually stifles some level of progress and the economic growth that we're always preaching so much. So I just need to find out from, you know, Dr. Annelien Chati, if there is a way or a better way that, you know, we can be able to get the kind of assistance and all the programs that the initiatives that government has. What is the best way that we can be able to succeed in really taking them up? Or I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, or is Dr. Annelien there?
I'm here, Coretta.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so what I'd like to say is we do have a number of incentives that support programs. We are yet to design incentives that are specifically focused on women. But I'll just give you an example of one of which I didn't really go into in my presentation. One of the approaches we're taking now as government with regard to policy is the introduction of what we call master plans. So we've developed master plans in, I think, about 17 sectors. As the GTIC, we're leading on 8 of them, and I'll tell you which they are. We've completed 6. So the 6 master plans we've completed are the automotive, clothing, textile, leather, and footwear, the steel, the furniture, sugar, poultry, and we're currently in progress with plastic and chemicals. So what we're doing in those 6 master plans, we're looking at transformation as a critical pillar of those master plans. So I'll give you an example of the clothing, textile, leather, and footwear. The 2 things we're really pushing on our master plans, one is localization, which means that, we increase opportunities for local business and making sure that our products sourced are all local. The second one is transformation. So we're trying to make sure that women, youth, and people with disabilities benefit. So in terms of the clothing and textile incentive, I'm sure you're aware that we have an incentive for over 10 years that is administered by the IDC. And it was never really designed or focused to cater for women. So what we've done now, we've completely redesigned it, and a part of that incentive has been set aside for women-owned businesses. Just so that, and we've made it even easier because we know how difficult it is to get capital. So we've made it almost like 50% grant where you don't have to pay it back, and 50% an interest-free loan. So as your business grows, you pay it back. So I think, and what we want to move towards, and I'm actually having meetings with the presidency in this week to discuss some new concepts and new ideas around how can we accelerate the participation of women in the economy. So part of that would be how can we factor in, into all of these different incentives an element to increase for women. I mean, when we compete on an open platform, obviously those that are more experienced in business is going to have a better proposal than those that are not. So it's about trying to level the playing fields and creating equitable platforms so that women can also benefit and participate. Even on, things, I think it was Divaksha that mentioned the EVs, even in the automotive sector and the green economy, we're looking at how can we continuously identify opportunities for women and make sure that we set aside certain women empowerment is currently at the top of government's agenda, and making sure that women are factored into basically every sector. And there's no such thing as male-dominated sector. And women need to start to infiltrate those male-dominated sectors and start to become significant. So we need to give them the resources to be able to participate equitably, alongside their male counterparts. So those are some of the areas that are potentially opportunities for women. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That explains it. And what is the best way then for us to link up or get access to those opportunities? And how can we be able to assist our members to access those opportunities easily? Because what I find personally from my side is that yes, the master plans are there. Yes, there are incentives. Yes, there are initiatives that are set aside for women. But the challenge that we're faced with is that how do we then make sure that that becomes a reality?
So I think one of the things we're really bad at, in government is not marketing ourselves adequately and not putting the information out there. And so we need to really work on that. How can we get it out there in the public domain? And I think I'm not sure if you're familiar with the She Trades platform. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah, so even things like that, there's not a lot of information out there on it. So we need to start working on packaging and marketing our opportunities. And I think that's something we need to do. But now that I've been on this platform, you know me, you're welcome to contact me and I can channel you accordingly.
Okay. No, thank you very, very much, Annalyn. Much appreciated. Thank you, Faith.
Thank you. Well, that was good. And I think, you see, this is what this opportunity provides, the first-hand response for any questions or burning questions that you may have. And I for one, am truly appreciative of that. So I'm introducing the speaker, not because she's the least, but simply because if you want to close a show, you really need a rock star. And I think anybody who knows Lisa Reynolds knows that as far as just living life, being true to herself, especially in this male-dominated space, she really is that. She's a rock star in every sense of the word. And she's accomplished so much. She's the former president of the SAEEC, and she's the current CEO of the Green Building Council South Africa. So Lisa, I'm not gonna waste too much time. Please take a few minutes, introduce yourself, and then tell us a little bit more about bridging the gap, because the topic, on paper, it sounds like female-owned businesses are a priority in as far as incentives and government support is concerned. SMEs as well are a priority. So you get the specialized focus when you are a female-led SMME. But is it really happening in reality? And we know that there's a gap. What does it take to bridge this gap? Are women enjoying all the incentives that have been designed for them? Are SMMEs enjoying the incentives and the support that have been designed, for them as well? And if not, what will it take to bridge the gap? What does it take to bridge the gap? What is going to be required? And in the meantime, where does that leave us? People like Santa who own businesses and who are female. So please share your experience, your knowledge, and help us, sort of find ourselves on the other side of the bridge. Over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Faith. From one rock star to another. Do appreciate that. Don't build me up so that now everybody's anticipating the best, I hope. But I just want to say, I've been looking at the names. Some of you guys I know quite well, and I think some of you are probably the best female entrepreneurs that I know in this business. I think, and I looked at it, and I looked at Santa's subject matter and how she put it, and I thought, wow, what can I tell you about entrepreneurship? And I think the thing about entrepreneurship being an SMME is that it is very difficult. And, we can say how difficult it is. It's fantastically difficult. So I don't know, let me give you some of my history, is that for many years I worked for corporate. I was with Saint-Gobain. And just so that you know, when at one time the CEO for Green Building Council, it became vacant, and I actually applied, and I didn't get it. And I was in the corporate world, and I was like, wow, but maybe it wasn't meant to be. But what it did do for me, it is that I had felt that I'd grown beyond corporate. I think very similar to Santa's story, and also made a few errors along the way. And everybody said to me, oh, you're so well known in this industry. You can do anything you want and whatever. And you know what? It was difficult. And the difficulty was, for me, was finding what I needed to do. Because people say to me, come see me. One thing, I was blessed. I had doors that were open to me. I didn't struggle to see people. People were welcome to see me. I was very, very blessed. But every time I saw somebody, they had a different idea of what I should do. They said, I should be an ESCO. I should do this. I should do this. And I actually have to sit down and say, well, what is my dream? What is my goal? What do I want? What did I want to, I left the security of corporate to do something. Why? What did I do? What did I want to achieve? And it was only really knowing that it gave me direction. And there's a bit of a conflicting thing, because what I would say to you though is, have your dream, that there is flexibility in it, but don't end up doing something you really don't want to do. And I know I've sort of jumped ahead of myself here, because as we recognize, there's a lot of programs out there, and they are very supportive of women. We've got Annalene here. We've got Winnie here from DMRE. We've got there's so many programs that support women. And when we looked at the poll, one of the sort of top end of the poll was skills development and training. And I would take it even one step further. there's programs out there, there's women here. One, yes, skill yourself up. It's so important to understand the area that you're going into. But the other is knowledge. Knowledge and skills are different. Knowledge is about keeping an ear open for these programs, looking at opportunities. And Aline said, oh, as a government, we don't advertise ourselves well. But sometimes the onus also lies with us, is that we must say, okay, what do I want to do? What are the programs out there? And really put your ear to the ground and keep in contact. Very importantly, I think with Santa, what she said about the financing, when I sort of went into my own business, my banker actually said to me, I should have asked for a larger overdraft before I left my job. And so when you've got money and you look like you've got money, that's when you're supposed to, get it. So it's a very strange thing, but it's really about, and they say, try not to use your own money. But what I would say too as well, and I think Santa's proved it, is that, again, it's a lot of work. I went from, as I say, being in a corporate, and I worked hard, but if somebody said to me, I need this and this and this, I'd say, okay, I'll give it to you tomorrow morning. Suddenly, when you're running your own business, tomorrow morning doesn't quite cut it. And if somebody asks something from you at 11 o'clock at night, that's when you do it. And as I say, I probably could point and call on a few people in the audience here and say, tell us your stories and that, and they'll tell you the same thing about how hard they've worked, but I think it's about the flexibility, the agility. And for those of you, I listened to another sort of mentor of mine, and she's got a podcast, and she spoke about, if you're an SMME or an entrepreneur, and you dream of being on that desert island, when or on that island where people are running around you and serving you because you're going to be making so much money. You see, the reality is that even if you are there and you've got the money to pay for that, you probably have your laptop at the beach still working. And that's the reality of the entrepreneur's life. And I don't want to put anybody off, but know that that's how it works, because you are hustling and you are working. But the beauty of it and the positive side of it is that you'll be doing what you want. I've often said that the beauty of working, there's wonder in working for yourself. But when I worked for myself, I found that my boss was quite a hard taskmaster. She was harder than anybody else could be on me. And if I've come a long way with many people, a long way with Santa, and I must tell you, I loved Santa's electric Beetles. And if I could have bought one at the time, I would have. And the only problem, we didn't have the infrastructure in the country to charge things, and there was just like so many difficulties. And I think sometimes ideas are ahead of their time, and you have to try and get the infrastructure there as well. And so that's what I'm saying is, when you look at your passion, see how can you advocate for your infrastructure? Is there something that you can do to help bridge that gap? So, I spoke about bridging the gap because there's a whole lot of opportunities for women in this space. And I love that cartoon that Aline showed with the washing line and everything in front of women in the race, is that we know that we've got these things ahead of us, but we do it. And what is nice is when you work for yourself, and is, even though, you have to be flexible and agile, that you can have your own time. Your personal time can be flexible. So it is good to be there. There was something I was going from, and sure, my mind's going all over the place. And what I was going to say is, we did a survey, and for those of you who've heard this 100 times, I haven't updated my survey. It was a sort of an ad hoc survey I did when Safee first started. We found out that of all the engineering graduates from Wits class, within 5 years, there was only 25% of the female engineers still working in the engineering space. And we always speak about the brain drain and the lack of skills, and to me that's sad, in that there is this gap between people that can do the job and the jobs that are available. And so there are skills there. You find people going into the most diverse spaces because they try to find their space in life and follow their passion. One of the things that so I've also heard recently, and Santa touched on it, is as a dreamer and an implementer of dreams, how many dreams do you have in you? Because Santa said it might be 7 businesses worth before it succeeds, and you have to have perseverance, and you have to have structure behind you. I think Coretta could tell us some stories, because I think she went from entrepreneur to corporate, really couldn't cope with corporate, and became entrepreneur again. So, and sometimes it works that you have to be your own boss, and you have to do what you need to do. So in this long rambling talk that I'm giving you, I promise you there was structure when I started, and I think everybody's ideas comes into the whole framework, is that there's opportunity for women. The time is right for women to succeed, for women to grasp this space, whether it be energy efficiency, renewables, consultants, whatever space you're in, it's the right time to grasp this space, but it doesn't come without work. And when we did the poll, the second highest was networking. And one of the things people always say to me, how are you so successful at advocacy, at the standards writing stuff? And it was about networking. It was about talking to people, networking, and getting together. I just remember what I wanted to say. And one of the other things, we speak about women supporting themselves. Let me just tell you, when I was running my own business, one of the things that we would go somewhere, and we would discuss perhaps carbon tax and how to help people with their carbon tax. And they'd say, but can you do solar? And we say, yes, we can. Not because we had the ability to do it within our company, but because I knew people that are actually in this virtual room where I could just pick up a phone and say, hi, I've got a potential project and we need somebody who knows solar. Will you join us on this thing? And that's the other beauty of this, is that, we spoke about the golfing buddies and what to, how to do business on golf courses. But, women are natural networkers. We can talk to each other. We need to understand what each other is doing. And partnerships, joint ventures is also, I believe, is fundamental to success. Because again, if you all succeed together, you succeed, and you find that it's even better. So one of the things when we were consulting, we would say, if anybody asked us anything, unless it was really, sort of about drilling for oil or something, we would always say, yes, we can do it, because our networks had the right people in it, and that we could bring somebody in. And even if it ended up that they got the job and not us, it was fine, because we knew it was swings and roundabouts. And I think that's really what I want to say is that, and I don't have all the solutions. I really don't have probably a 10th of the solutions. And I think what I just wanted to say is, there is a gap. We know that the opportunities are there. How do we bridge it? And it's about information, it's about knowledge, it's about partnerships, it's about supporting each other. And that's really was a vision for Safee, is how can we take people in this space and let's bring us together and say, you know, between all of us, and I think it was earlier, there was 22 of us and a couple of really brave men joining us. You know, how do we bring all this together and make a success of it? And I think that's really all I wanted to say. Oh, just to go full roundabout, because I told you about the Green Building Council job, is that I was working for myself. Business was finding some successes, and along came the vacancy of this for the CEO of the Green Building Council. And I looked at it and I didn't settle, because this job was always my passion. I believed that I could make a difference, that I could change the shape of things, and that is why I stepped out of being an SMME or an entrepreneur, is because to join a passion job. But what I must tell you is that the experience that I got as an SMME made me better for this position that I'm taking now. As Santa said, there's no experience that doesn't count towards making you a better person and making you a better leader. And if I can tell you, the whole SMME experience made me a better CEO. Thank you for that.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lisa. I thought you were still getting started, and I was just looking at the time. Like, I'm stuck between making sure that we don't run out of time and just listening to you. I could listen to you all day and tell your stories. We do have a question from Yolisa. Yolisa, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Is it directed to Lisa? Yolisa, you are still muted. Okay, I'm not sure if Yolisa still wants to ask a question, but she had a hand up and she's lowered it now. So if you just having technical difficulties, maybe you could type it in the chat box and specify if you're directing it to Lisa or any of our two speakers. Okay, there's also a poll just to have your final view. Once again, the single choice answer, please provide with your specific needs, renewable energy mentoring and coaching. So we can know how to narrow or streamline or even prioritize the training needs. Hopefully we'll get to the rest of the other needs, but we just want to make sure that we prioritize the most urgent and pertinent ones. And by the way, this one has a couple of questions, so you're going to have to scroll down and answer all the questions.
I think I'd just like to add to that there's method in this madness. I know it looks like a crazy poll, but as an organization, we want to really be responsive to our members and our potential members in seeing what you'd like to see going forward. I think it's, you know, we've been a bit quiet for a bit, and this is our speaking again, and we want to really see which direction to go. So please reply and put everything in, because it's going to really, it's not just for fun, it's for information which we need.
I think if Yolisa is still interested in asking the question, she's probably still typing it. I haven't seen the question yet. But Lisa, the nice thing about you. Oh, there we go.
Apologies.
Hi, go ahead.
Good morning. I was just clapping my hands. I was not lifting my hand. There's an emoji. Thank you
Sorry
for
about
the great
that.
chat. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Yolisa. While everybody's finishing their poll, Lisa, I believe, and like you said just now, you summed it up very nicely, the things, the peaks, the valleys that you've been through in your career. But I think to also sum it up differently, would say over the course of your career, you've witnessed changes in the sector specifically. Some of them have done great in launching more women into leadership positions. But what do you think still needs to be done, and how can one differentiate themselves? Because if you are a woman, you need to come in with a bang and not offer the usual that's already there. What is the one thing that you've done to differentiate yourself, and what can another young woman who wants to have a successful career do to differentiate themselves in this interesting space?
I think one of the things we must always celebrate is that, look, I am tough, but I've never tried to be male, and I think it's very important we bring different skill sets to this party, and those skill sets are needed. I always say that, and I talk about superpowers a lot because, one of my superpowers is networking, having a high EQ. But it's also, if you look at it, and I always say, for those of you who got children and look at comic book heroes, you've got, the X-Men, and they're made up of people with different skill sets, and they're strong because they've got different strengths. And I think that is what we must remember in our space, is that we bring something different to this party. And look, we have to know the fundamentals. Faith wouldn't have got as far as she's got without her engineering knowledge and her understanding, I think, sorry, I'm going to pick on you, Faith. One of Faith's superpowers is that she can take quite complicated engineering terminology and translate it into English, and that people can see where she's going with it. And again, I think that was your lecturing skills, that you taught a lot, and from that it gave you a certain ability. So it's really saying, where are my strengths and what can I do with it? And don't be somebody you're not. Bring your passion. I used to there's this old adage that women are emotional, and I used to say it's not emotion, it's passion. And that's the difference. Bring your passion. It's and don't apologize for bringing the passion, because I don't. And I think that's the thing, is know. But again, you have to know your stuff well. Know your stuff really well, because unfortunately, people, not just men, it's people sometimes for some reason want to see you fail and they want to catch you out. Just know your stuff. And bring your personality and bring who you are.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is that a lot has been done to try and get change in the sector. And by change, I'm talking about the diversity. I'm talking about fostering a better, gender balance, be it in the boardroom or in the business or as an entrepreneur. But at this point, I don't think we still need to do the basics. We really need to accelerate it. We're at a point where it just needs to happen. It needs to happen yesterday. If there was one thing that could be done to make sure that it happens as in yesterday, what would that be?
Sure, that's quite a different. I think I would like to see the adaptation of change quicker. You know what I mean? So if you think of it, and but on both sides, whether it be the energy efficiency and renewable energy space, or the incorporation of women in the space, it's just, I'd love to see the adaptation of it quicker. We're talking about electric vehicles. Why aren't there more charging stations throughout the cities? Why aren't there government policies? Why did IPPs and other things take so long? We know that moves slowly, but and we know the reasons why, but it's just, we need to get moving and we need to do the stuff so that the dreams and the drives can match the policy and the infrastructure. And I think it's, it is getting better. I mean, if I think of we started writing the energy efficiency standards in 2003, 2004. If I look at how far we've come now, we've come far. If I think of me starting my career, who was it that, I think Annalena as well, you spoke about a woman not being able to do anything without their husbands. I mean, I started work and I matriculated early and I finished university at 20. And I went to work and we're talking like early 80s. I couldn't sign my own employment form because I was under 21. I had to get my dad to sign it for me. That is where I've come from, and so we've come far, but we need to go further. And I think we need to support each other. And I think that's what I'd like to see, is sort of healthy competition, but healthy support. And I think the time for us proving that women can do the job is long over. We know women can do the job. We don't have to prove anything. It's proven, So let's stop proving, I almost said a bad word, stuff, and let's just do it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much, Annalene. Thank you so much, Santa. And thank you to each one of you for making the time to join us. And I hope what the three ladies have shared, the questions that you've asked have been answered, and we've also shared their contact details. I hope what they've shared has really given you the light, hopefully even assisted you in your journey, your individual journey in this amazing space that we find ourselves. I certainly wish you the best, and I hope that you will grab every opportunity to network with women, like-minded women who are walking the same journey as you, but also let's make the network grow. We don't want to leave anybody outside. Like Lisa said, the only thing now that we can do is make sure that we support each other, we strengthen each other, we are there for each other. And if it means somebody else gets the project this time around, then so be it. Next time is going to be opportunity. It's going to be a learning process. You're going to make sure that another woman gets it, and it's still a woman, right? So I think before we conclude, I just want to say thank you and thank my fellow Safee committee members and each one of you for making sure that you take the time. I know it's quite busy. It's even hectic when you're working from home. So thank you so much for this. We do look forward to more of your questions, more of your comments, greater membership, spread the word, and make sure that if you have any questions or you just want to find out additional information about Safee or SAEEC, you do contact any of us as introduced by Coretta or Tida. But one last thing before you go, we have a question. Oh, Tida is gone. We have a question on your screen, and just one word question. The barriers. It's an old question, but it's always going to be a question and a challenge that needs solution. And we want to be a part of solution, but for you, and we want to know your opinion, what is the major challenge? What is the major barrier that you're faced with? If you have to give us one word answer, what would it be? You can speak or you can put it on the chat box. And we want to use it, like Lisa said, we want to use this to make sure that we address, when we come up with events, we address these challenges, when we address these barriers that you will mention in the chat box. So as you chat away, thank you so much from me. My job today was just to drive the show, but I will hand over to Divaksha now to conclude and probably tell you a little bit more about what we've all missed, because that's what she's here for. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day and you stick around in this interesting space. So, bye.
Okay. Thanks, Faith. That was a good job, well done. Seemed to be freezing on my screen. I think in closing, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today on the platform. We started off with quite a few members, but seem to have lost them along the way. And thank you to all the men that actually participated in listening in on this. I know a few of y'all personally, and I'm very happy that you guys joined us. The one thing we must not forget is that gender mainstreaming does not only involve females. I think when people say that, people just think, oh, it's about getting females involved in business. No, it involves men and females, and we must not be afraid to share these platforms with our male counterparts. As I think all of our speakers enunciated today, we cannot do this alone. This is not a fight of females and men, but it is a collaborative effort in order to go forward in the sector and to drive economy. We do it together. So thank you to all the men for coming on board. And I was hoping to hear a few questions from them, but I suppose in future events, they will start to get involved. I took a few notes down as each speaker, so I'll just run through it very quickly. I think, thank you to Dr. Annalene Chetty. Our relationship goes back to her project of Turning Point. And as you all know, I joined entrepreneurship and the sector 3 years ago, coming out of my own story of a toxic environment. And it was her project that actually empowered me and gave me confidence to pursue being an entrepreneur or being a woman who of professional status, not even an entrepreneur in any organization, even in corporate. You need to be proud of who you are and where you've come from. And her little project and me interacting with herself and the other ladies gave me the confidence to pursue. So thank you, Dr. Annalene Chetty, for joining us today. I'm quite pleased that I've introduced you to my network now of ladies in the energy sector, and I'm hoping that we will have many more conversations on working with you and what government has in mind, so that we all don't work in silos, that we work together and we have one voice. To Santa, I'm pretty excited because, as I mentioned, I have a passion for electric vehicles and where we want to take that sector. So thank you for sharing your details. We will contact you to see what opportunities we can open up for the ladies on this platform, and where we can actually add in our voices in these working groups that are currently available that not many people are aware of. And to Lisa, always also somebody very close to our heart, especially mine. And it's always interesting to speak to her because she has so much of experience. It's always a different story or a different experience that she's gone through that actually makes us very confident and proud of being a female in the industry, and listening to how she forged ahead really has motivated me in my years of interaction with her, more of a family than an acquaintance for myself. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. And I hope that the interaction amongst ourselves was also beneficial to y'all. And the time that you spent with us will be productive going forward. My fellow members, we've done a good job in putting this together, and there'll be many more events. Tira has displayed on the screen the details, okay, but you can contact us of all of us. So contact us for future events. We will start marketing it really hard. We want to create this platform for women to engage in. Women, we have everything. We have all the skills. Lots of women say, how are you in the solar PV? You don't need muscle strength to be in that sector. So what are we afraid of? And I think confidence is one of the biggest things that women lack, is confidence in a boardroom to speak out, to talk amongst our male counterparts, because we feel that we are being judged. We're being judged by our male counterparts, we're being judged by fellow females. So moving on to that, my next point is collaboration. Lisa mentioned it, and obviously we do it as entrepreneurs, but do it as females in the networking sessions that we have, whether you're coming from corporate or whether you're self-employed. Those are the sort of interactions that we want on the Safee platform. It's a platform with genuine conversations and genuine people who are experiencing what you are. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. And I think basically we all go through some sort of unconscious biasness. I mean, we enter a room with the boardroom of males and we choose to take the minutes, or we choose to make the coffee for all our male counterparts. Sit back, let them do it. Let them know why our place is in the boardroom. And in saying that, we encourage you all to please spread the word of Safee. that sounded so biblical, but spread the word of what we're about and what we want to empower the females in. I personally am on the SAC board in the training portfolio, and one of my biggest things is to start with the skills and capacity building of females, especially the young females. If you look at the statistics, you're looking at 18 to 23% that enter at graduate level into the engineering sector. 2 to 6% remain as professionals in the sector, and we need to start picking those statistics up. We need to start creating advocacy and strengthening our pipeline of opportunities and needs. There's a lot that's out there that people aren't aware of. And when we have these conversations, we then start to realize, okay, there's something I can get involved in as an entrepreneur or even in the corporate environment. So I think in saying that, it's 5 minutes past 12. Thank you, everybody. You've got our details. Please join us. We cannot do this alone. We are here to serve y'all. If you don't come to us with what you'd like to see going forward, how would you like to get involved? We cannot help you. So please participate in the surveys we've sent out in terms of training, in terms of opportunities, in terms of activities like this. And in closing, I've always said this, but I'm very, very passionate about this. We all speak of diversity, and that's having a seat at the table. We all speak of inclusion, and that's having a voice. We now need to belong, and that is having a voice that is heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.